Hello Warhammer Explorers, hit subscribe and stay with our Legion. Your support is what lets me keep making these crossovers. What if the Emperor of Mankind arrived in Assassin's Creed? He sits upon the golden throne and feels a new pattern in the sea of souls, a thin bright line that leads not to his own dark age, but to an earlier Earth. Templar minds and assassin minds glow on that line, pulled back and forth through a machine that chews memory and spits out history. He sees a future where that machine, and the hidden ones behind it, twist mankind into quiet slaves before the Imperium is ever born. So the Emperor of Mankind shapes a shard of his will, binds it to a spear of psychic fire, and casts it down that line. The warp howls, the throne groans, and the shard strikes a grey sky above a city of glass and steel. Clouds over London split like torn cloth. Light pours through the opening. It is not sunlight. It is a hard, gold-white beam that makes people drop to their knees and shield their eyes. Cars skid to a stop on wet streets. Phones fall from hands. A child on a bridge over the Thames points up and screams, not from pain, but from the size of what is coming. A shape descends inside the light, tall, armored, crowned in a nimbus of burning gold. The shard of the Emperor hits the air of this older Earth and slows. He spreads his will. He turns a killing fall into a controlled step. He lands on the roof of a glass tower marked with the blue logo of Abstergo Industries. The metal under his boot sags and glows, but does not break. Alarm lights explode into life across the building. Inside, on one of the upper floors, Layla Hassan jerks off her Animus headset. Her heart pounds. She was deep in a memory, running across tiled roofs in Florence, feeling another life fill her muscles. Now the room shakes. Static fills her ears. "Power spike," she says, voice tight. "That's not from us." The Animus chamber is a white egg of a room. Screens show vital signs. Another shows old stone streets, frozen mid-run. Ezio Auditore's borrowed footsteps hang in place, waiting. Layla pushes herself up and staggers to a wall screen. Numbers flash red. An energy graph climbs, then curves into a spike so sharp it looks like a nail. Abstergo Tower, London, Facility 2, the system states in a flat voice. "External energy event," she swears. Then she hits a hidden key combo and kills the simple interface. A different program opens, one only the modern assassins use. The Brotherhood symbol appears in the corner of the screen. "William," she says, opening a secure call. "You seeing this?" Static. Then an older man's voice, low and hard. "I see it," William Miles answers from his hidden command room, somewhere far from the city. "Satellite feed just went blind over your building." The elevator doors at the back of the lab open. 2 Abstergo security men rush in with guns. Layla does not move like they expect. She slips to the side, grabs the first man's wrist, twists, and drives his arm up so he fires into the ceiling. The other raises his gun, but her hidden blade is already out, glittering like a small tooth of steel. She stops before the kill. The floor shudders again. "Not now," she breathes. "Even you don't deserve whatever that is." Above them, on the roof, the Emperor opens his eyes. The air tastes thin and cold. The mines around him are small, bright sparks. They are not yet hammered into the brutal shapes he knows from the far future. Beneath his feet, machines hum. They gnaw at human memory. They pull bloodlines backward into false sleep and replay the lives of dead men for profit and power. He looks down through the roof. Matter is simple to him. His gaze drills through steel, glass, and concrete, as if the building were made of paper. He sees the Animus chamber. He sees Layla. He sees the faint ghost of Ezio Auditore still running in a frozen frame. he also sees something deeper. Under the building. Under the city. Far below, a vault sings. It is not warp. It is not the Imperium he knows. But it feels close. A careful, caged cousin. A lattice of light and code left by a dead race, the Yisu. It is waking up. Abstergo's director for London, Dr. Sophia Rickin, clutches the edge of her desk as the tower alarms scream. What in Minerva's name is that? Someone shouts in the control room behind her. On her wall, a live feed from the roof freezes into static, then clears. A golden figure stands there, too bright for the camera. Visual filters kick in. The image tightens, autofocus struggling. He is in armor worked with eagles and skulls, but not like any armor she knows. A cloak of red hangs from his shoulders and hardly moves in the wind. His face is calm. His eyes blaze. Every Templar instinct in her whispers that this is power. A piece of Eden made flesh, a tool, or a threat. Seal the building, she orders. No one leaves. Lock down the Animus lab. I want that thing contained. On the roof, the Emperor feels minds shift below him. Fear, greed, duty. The usual mix. He also feels strain. The golden throne on distant Terra groans. The Astronomicon, the star beacon powered by his true body, dips for a moment, like a sun beneath clouds. He tastes the toll in a sharp line of pain behind his brow. This shard is powerful, but not endless. All power has cost. Codex note: a psychic projection of the Emperor is a fragment of his will given form, mighty but bound by the strength of its link to the throne. The vault under London stirs harder. Isu code, old and cold, reaches up like roots seeking warmth. It touches the warp thread the Emperor used to descend. It does not know what it touches, only that it is bright. The contact makes a shockwave. Light tears across the sky from the hole he made to the far horizon. Every phone screen in London glitches. People collapse, clutching their heads, as strange images flash in their minds. Old temples, white rooms, a man in white robes falling in slow motion from a tower. On Abstergo's lower levels, in a hidden cell, a man in a suit jerks awake. He was a Templar analyst. Now his eyes glow gold. The vault uses him like a wire. He stands. He walks toward the exit, muscles stiff. Guards raise their guns, then lower them again as his gaze passes over them. "You will open the way," he says in a voice that is not his own. Outside, sirens wail. Police cars swarm around Abstergo Tower. Drones buzz the air. Layla drags the two stunned security men into a corner and knocks them out. She pulls a small, worn pendant from inside her shirt. The assassin insignia. "William," she says into her earpiece, voice low. This feels like a piece of Eden event, but it's huge. It's not like anything on record. "Then get eyes on it," William replies. "Carefully. The Templars will lock this place down." "Good. They'll be busy with the god on their roof. Move while they stare." She runs. She cuts through white halls and glass bridges, feet silent on the floor. Her hidden blades stay in, but her hands are ready. She knows the routes, both the ones in the building maps and the ones that do not exist except in her head. Hallways, service shafts, maintenance ladders. She climbs. On the roof, the Emperor watches the city. It feels small to him. Not in size, but in time. The air does not yet carry the dust of 1,000,000 dead worlds. The people have not yet learned to hate the sky. He feels the hard pattern of the Isu vault, pushing again, stronger now. It wants to use his link the way it just used that Templar below. It wants to climb up his light back to the throne. He will not let it. He raises his hand. The gold beam he arrived in twists and curls, forming into a shield dome over the tower. The next psychic wave from the vault hits the dome instead of the city. The impact is like a hammer. The shield shatters into bright shards. They rain down as harmless sparks, but every spark is a tiny knife of pain driven into his mind. He staggers. For a second, the image of London blurs. In its place, he sees terror, his Imperium, 1 billion souls screaming as the Astronomicon flickers. He sets his foot. He stands straight. He does not fall. Layla bursts through the last stairwell door and onto the roof. Wind slaps her coat around her legs. Alarm lights flash red against the grey sky, and in the middle of it stands the man of gold. She stops dead. He is taller than any person she has ever seen, taller than any Isu statue. His armor looks like it walked out of a nightmare fresco. Plates and coils and symbols of eagles and halos. His eyes turn toward her. She has seen many things in stolen memories. Crusader kings, Ottoman sultans, assassins who stabbed men in their sleep and smiled as they fell. She has never seen eyes like his. They hold whole star fields, and also a tired kindness. "You are not of the Isu," he says. His voice is deep but soft. "No," Layla manages. "I'm human. We both are." She waves a hand at the city. Her brain screams at her that this is insane. But here she is, talking to a walking sun. "The machine you sit in," he says, nodding at the tower beneath them. "It gnaws at the past. It drags the dead into the now. You can see the Animus from up here. I see mines, threads, tools." He turns his gaze downward again, into the earth. "And I see the hand that built your tools. It wakes. It wants to reach me." A helicopter roars closer. Abstergo's security chopper circles the tower, rotors chopping the damp air. Gunmen lean out, shouting into radios. Someone with sense has not ordered them to fire. Not yet. Inside Layla's ear, William speaks again. "Layla, report." She licks her lips. "There's a man on the roof," she says. "Armor like nothing I've seen, glowing, shielded the whole city from a vault pulse." William is silent for a second. "Is he a Templar weapon?" he asks. "Doesn't feel like it," she says. "They're scared of him too." "Then he is an anomaly," William says. "And anomalies are dangerous. Do not trust him, but do not let the Templars own him either." The Emperor listens to both sides of the call. He does not need Layla to speak out loud. Her thoughts, her fears, are as clear to him as a written scroll. "You fight in the shadows," he says, "against those who use these machines to rule." She flinches. "You read my mind. I heard what you already shout inside your skull," he says. "You are assassin. You fight for something you call freedom." "We fight so people can choose their own lives," she says, chin up. "Not live under an invisible hand." He looks at the Abstergo logo on the roof. "In my time," he says, "men built an empire in my name. It is harsh, it is cruel, but it stands between mankind and endless horror. Freedom without walls will not survive what I've seen." She frowns. "What time?" she asks. "Who are you?" He lets a small, tired smile touch his mouth. "I am the Emperor of mankind," he says simply, "from a war that has not yet come for you." The helicopter edges closer. "Abstergo security," a voice booms from a loudspeaker. "Drop any weapons and lie on the ground. Now." The Emperor turns his head. He looks at the helicopter. Metal squeals. The rotors cough. The entire machine drops a meter as if pushed by an invisible hand. The pilot yells, fighting the controls. The Emperor closes his fingers slowly. "I will not harm them if they do not fire," he says. The helicopter steadies. For now. Layla stares. You can just do that?" "I move the world with my will," he says, but every movement burns more of the light that binds me here. He looks down again. The greater danger is below. The makers of your pieces of Eden have touched the warp. They sense me. They do not understand what they woke. They will adapt. Pieces of Eden, Layla repeats. You know about them? I know power that bends minds, he says. I have seen it, and worse, seeded by things your Isu would call demons. Your enemy and mine may not be so far apart. The roof access door slams open again. 4 Abstergo guards rush out, weapons trained. Hands where we can see them, one shouts. Layla raises hers. She keeps her shoulders loose. The Emperor does not move. The guard's finger tightens on the trigger. Down below, the vault pushes again. This time it does not send a wide wave. It sends a knife. A thin pulse of Isu code shoots up through the building. It flows through wires, metal, flesh, anything that can carry a signal. It hits the Emperor's form like a thin, sharp spike. His vision flashes. For a heartbeat, London vanishes. He is in a white stone room full of Isu holograms and coal statues. A woman in strange, smooth armor stands before him. Her hair is like a crown of light. Her eyes are empty and cruel. Interesting, she says. A will from far ahead. A god who comes late. Juno. He knows her not by name but by texture. This is not a living mind. This is an echo. A program that learned to want. The spike passes. He is back on the roof, but the knife has cut something. His link to terror stutters. Pain runs down his spine like ice. He drops to one knee. The guards hesitate. One lowers his gun by accident. He looks at the Emperor, then at Layla, then at the trembling helicopter. What is he? The man whispers. Something we don't control, Layla says, which scares your bosses to death. Below, in the control room, Sophia Ricken watches the data scroll. The energy readings from the vault have changed. The pattern is narrower now, sharper. It climbs up the same path the golden being used to descend. Her Templar training tells her 2 things. First, this creature is linked to the vault in a way she can perhaps cut and trap. Second, allowing the assassins to talk to it is unacceptable. Send in the inner team, she says. Activate the fallback protocol, and someone patch me into the vault interface. The Isu left us tools. We're going to use them. She looks at the live feed again. Hello, God, she murmurs. Let's see if you bleed. Up to now, a shard of the Emperor has fallen into the Assassin's Creed world, saved London from a vault pulse, met Layla Hassan, and taken a first wound from an Isu echo that has learned his name. Hours later, rain falls on London. It washes soot from stone, neon from the night. It hisses on hot vents and drips off the edges of old statues that watched over the city long before Abstergo built its towers. In a warehouse near the river, the modern Assassin Brotherhood holds council. The place looks like junk from the outside. Inside it is clean. Screens line one wall, showing feeds from cameras, satellites, and old Animus sessions. Maps of London and the world hang between them, marked with small, careful symbols. The Emperor stands in the middle of the floor. He does not sit. He does not need to. The shard of his being is tired, but not as a human is tired. His fatigue is a dimming light, a slow drain of a great battery. Around him sit or stand the others. Layla, arms folded, still trying to process everything she saw. William Miles, the assassin mentor, stooped but sharp-eyed, his grey beard close trimmed. A few younger assassins, silent, watching. On the far side of the room, tied to a chair, sits Sophia Ricken. She glares at the lot of them. Her suit is torn, one sleeve missing. A strip of tape covers a cut on her forehead. Abstergo's inner team tried to push into the roof after the vault's second pulse. They ran into an assassin extraction instead. "Let's start simple," William says, voice even. "You say you are from the future." "I am from a path of man that lies far beyond yours," the Emperor answers. "It is not the future you will reach on your own, but it is one you may touch if certain hands do not change the weave now." "And you are a king?" one of the younger assassins asks. "I am more than a king," the Emperor says, "but also less. I am a maker of empires and a prisoner of my own throne." "That sounds dramatic," Sophia cuts in. "Do you even hear yourself?" Her voice drips contempt, but her eyes keep flicking to him like she cannot help it. "You call yourselves assassins," the Emperor says, looking at William and Layla. "You fight in the shadows. You kill those who hold power in ways you deem wrong." "We do more than kill," William says. "We protect, we guide, we teach." "And you," the Emperor says, turning to Sophia. "Templar, a builder of order at the cost of choice." She sits up straighter despite the ropes. "We believe peace comes from control," she says. "Left alone, people tear each other apart. The pieces of Eden let us shape the big picture, prevent war, steer mankind." "You liar," one of the young assassins spits. Sophia smiles thinly. "Do you enjoy riots, plagues, wars?" she asks. "You live in a world still clawing at itself with iron nails. You think your hidden knives solve that?" "We take out tyrants," Layla snaps. "We don't become them." The Emperor lifts a hand. They fall quiet, surprised at how easily they obey. "I have seen a future where there is only war," he says. "An Imperium that crushes worlds under its heel. It is cruel, it is heavy, but it keeps mankind alive when gods and monsters in the dark would rather see us extinct." He looks at Sophia. "You would build something like that, but you lack the enemies to justify it," he says. "You stare not into the warp, but into your own fear." He looks at William. "You would keep men free, but you do not know the cost of true chaos," he says. "You fight over kings and companies. I have fought over species." William's jaw tightens. "And what would you do?" William asks. "What is your creed?" The Emperor thinks of the countless dead who built his Imperium, of the gene-forged warriors who kill in his name, of the golden throne that eats 1,000 souls a day so that one starlight beacon can shine. "Humanity must endure," he says. "Above all, whatever the cost." Layla stares at him. "That's it?" she asks. "No rules about how, no lines." "There are lines," he says quietly. "There are always lines, but I've crossed many for the sake of the whole. Too many, perhaps." Sophia laughs once, harsh and sharp. "Then you are a Templar," she says. "You just don't like the word." "No," Layla says. "He broke the vault's wave to save people he didn't know. He could have let it fry us and walked on. And he froze our helicopter instead of dropping it," adds one of the younger assassins. "I saw the feed." "Power can be careful when it wants something," Sophia says. "Don't be children." William rubs his temples. "There is a bigger question," he says. "This vault, the Isu, they reached out and cut you. They used one of my enemies as a wire. How?" The Emperor turns his head slightly, listening inward. He can still feel the thin, cold mark Juno's echo left inside his mind. It is not a wound of flesh. It is a pattern. "Your Ishu learned to shape thought in code," he says. "They inscribed their will into light and sound, so it could live beyond their bodies. That is not unlike how the warp holds souls after death. But they do not ride the sea. They sit in a tank built next to it, close enough to feel the tides, clever enough to dip their fingers in. Layla frowns. And that hurts you because they touched my link home, he says. The light that binds this shard to my true form. They do not understand what they touch, but they will. They will learn to press on it, to cut, to corrupt. Sophia leans forward in her robes. If we can cut your link, she says, eyes bright with cruel hope, we can trap you here, use you, or kill you, one assassin mutters. Layla shoots Sophia a look of pure hate. You want to poke the god who saved your city? She asks. Really? He saved his own investment, Sophia says. If the vault uses your minds as bridges, then every dead Londoner would be a leak. He closed the leak. The Emperor does not deny it. He also did not want children's minds burned out by images of cruel Isu games. But he knows better than to say that out loud here. What do the Isu want? William asks. The ones left in the vaults. Juno, Minerva, the others. They want to escape their cages, the Emperor says. They want bodies again, or minds larger than the glass jars they live in. You are their raw material. And now, thanks to my path here, they smell a door into something bigger. The warp, Layla says softly. He nods. Your language is thin for it, he says. Call it the Sea of Souls, the place where thought and pain and faith go when they leave flesh. My empire sails it. The things in your vault sit beside it and drool. Sophia shivers despite herself. So what's your plan, Emperor? She asks. If you care so much about humanity, what do you do about this? He looks at her, then at William. I close the door, he says. The link between your Isu code and the warp must be cut. The vault in London must be shielded or sealed. Abstergo has had teams in that vault for years, Sophia says. You can't just walk down there. It is a maze of traps and light. We have walked worse, one young assassin mutters. William taps a map on the wall. Abstergo's London vault is under the river, he says. Deep, old. We have maps of some of it, stolen from their archives, but not all. And now it is awake. He looks up. First, we break their control of the surface, he says. We hit the tower, hard. We shut down their vault interface. Then we go below. Sophia snorts. You think you can just storm Abstergo Tower? She asks. My security teams. The Emperor's gaze quiets her. Your teams are brave, but human, he says. They will break before me. The risk is not them. It is collateral. Your minds are soft. A wide pulse from the vault could hollow a city. Layla nods. Then we need a way to cut the vault from the Animus network, she says. Stop it from piggybacking on your link and our machines at the same time. She turns to the Emperor. You said you can shape your own light, she says. Can you shape it into something like a firewall? A barrier between your mind and the vault's code, he thinks. In my own realm, I built shields against demons, he says. Walls of faith and will. Here, the laws are thinner, but the pattern is the same. I can try. Then that's the plan, William says. We hit Abstergo. You keep the vault from bursting in. We cut the Animus feed. Then we go into the vault itself. Sophia smiles a small, cold smile. And what do you think Juno will do while you play at Heroes? She asks. Layla steps over and slaps tape over her mouth. Council's done, she says. The next night, the rain comes back. It hides movement. On a rooftop across from Abstergo Tower, a small group of figures crouch in the dark. Layla checks the line on her grappling hook. Her hood is up. Her hidden blade slides out in a soft whisper, then back in. Beside her stands the Emperor. He wears the same golden armor, but now it carries faint scars from the vault's knife. Fine cracks run down one shoulder plate, glowing faint red at the edges. Behind his helm, Golden light flickers like a candle in wind. "Are you ready?" William's voice whispers in Layla's ear. "Ready," she says. "Ready," says the Emperor, though William cannot hear him through radio. Layla looks at him. "If you burn out," she says quietly, "what happens to you?" "I return to my throne," he says, "or I scatter across the warp as dust. Either way, my Imperium grows weaker. The light that guides my fleets dims." "That sounds bad. For my people," he says. "For your world, if I fail here, it may be worse." He looks at the tower. "In my war, when we take a fortress, we send in giant warriors in power armor," he says. "We call them Adeptus Astartes, Space Marines. They are living tanks." He raises one hand. For a moment, 3 tall, massive shapes shimmer into view around him. They carry guns the size of small cannons. Their armor is blue and gold, their eyes lenses of cold light. Layla's breath catches. Then the shapes flicker and vanish. "Echoes," he says. "I cannot sustain them here. This realm is not made for their full weight, and my link is cut and bitten already." "Then it's just us," she says. He looks at her, taking in the small hooded woman with 2 hidden blades and more courage than mass. "Sometimes," he says, "that is enough." They leap. Grappling hooks whistle through the air and catch on ledges. Boots hit glass. The Emperor does not use a hook. He simply steps into the air and walks, golden light blooming under his feet like small, brief platforms. They slam into the side of the tower 3 floors below the roof. Inside, Abstergo guards run to intercept, drawn by silent alarms. Lasers trip. Doors hiss shut. Layla shatters a window with a small charge and rolls through. The Emperor steps through the glass without breaking it. Matter opens for him, then closes again. The corridor on the other side is full of guns. "Stand down," a sergeant yells. "We will fire." The Emperor raises his hand. The guns jerk upward, pointing at the ceiling. Metal screams as triggers lock. "I will not kill you if I do not have to," he says. He reaches into their minds. He could burn them out. He could turn them to glass. He does not. Instead, he presses a simple command. "Sleep." One by one, the guards drop. They hit the floor like felled trees, breathing but out cold. Layla moves past them, heart pounding. "That was something," she mutters. "The less blood I spill here, the more your world may yet keep some innocence," he says. Alarms blare. "Sector 4 breach," a calm female voice says over the speakers. "Animus lab compromised. Secure all access points." The vault under the city feels the Emperor's light inside its tower again. Juno's echo snarls in code. She twists the signal Abstergo left in her cage. She reaches up through it, this time not as a knife, but as a hand. It closes around the Emperor's link, clawed and cold. He staggers. For a second, his body goes translucent. The hallway lights shine through him. Layla grabs his arm on instinct, as if she can hold him in. "Hey," she shouts, "stay with me." Through the link, Juno speaks. "You are a key, not a king," she says in his mind. "Your light is a bridge. I will walk it. I will take your sea and pour my code into it." He feels her pressing against the walls of his being. If she gets through, she will ride his link to the throne. She will infect the Astronomicon, the one beacon that guides every ship of his Imperium. He cannot allow that. He clamps down with his will. He shapes his own light into a cage around Juno's hand. It burns. She screams, not in sound, but in a rush of broken code. The impact shakes the tower. Lights flicker. Screens go black and then fill with cascading symbols in Isu script. Layla's earpiece crackles. "Layla," William shouts. "The vault's output just spiked. We're reading some kind of anti-field building under the river. It's like the pieces are writing a pattern that erases energy. The Emperor feels it too. In the vault, machines older than human cities spin up new functions. They layer code on code, building a shape in thought space. That shape is like a blank spot. Where it touches his light, he feels not pain, but absence, a gnawing nothing. Your Ishu are clever, he says through clenched teeth. They build a null zone, a pattern that eats warp, as a black hole eats light. Layla's eyes widen. They can erase you, she asks. They can cut my link, he says. If they push that pattern into the right places, this shard will go silent, and the path they found will stay open, an open wound between my realm and yours. They reach the Animus lab. Glass walls, white floor, the egg-shaped machine in the center humming. Two techs in white coats stand frozen, halfway between running away and pressing buttons. A security team tries to form a line at the far door. Don't shoot, one tech screams. You'll hit the Animus. Layla throws a smoke bomb. The room fills with grey fog, shouts, coughs. She dives low, cutting through the smoke, hidden blade taking out legs, not throats. Guards crash down. The Emperor walks straight through, the smoke parting around him. The Animus glows brighter. Inside its shell, light dances. Juno is trying to pour her null pattern up through every active link at once. Every memory session on the network, every person lying in a pod around the world becomes a strand. The Emperor walks up the machine and sets his hand on it. He closes his eyes. He sees the map of it all. Lines of light spreading across Earth like a web. Every line ends in a sleeper, a person reliving old blood. The vault's pattern is climbing those lines, a grey fog riding golden wire. If he cuts them, he saves himself. He saves the throne. He also traps many minds inside their own memories forever. They will die in the past, while their bodies rot in the now. He could accept that. He has killed more for less, where the Imperium is concerned. But he looks at Layla, at the young guard sleeping on the hall floor, at the city outside this glass wall. He thinks of how small their world still is, how many paths they still have not walked. He will not start their age of sacrifice with this. He does something harder. He reaches past the main beam of his link and shapes a shield around it. A shell of his own mind, a firewall of raw will. He pushes that shell down the lines of the Animus. The null pattern hits the shell and spreads along it, like acid on a plate. The plate burns, but the space inside stays whole. He takes the pain into himself. Every line that would have carried Juno's hand instead carries fire. The Emperor roars. Windows shatter. Concrete cracks. Layla staggers back, hands over her ears as sound slams into her bones. Lights explode. The Animus shell fractures. Then silence. The screens go dark. The vault under London screams with a burst of radio and psychic noise, then falls quiet as its main conduit snaps. The Emperor drops to one knee again. This time, he does not rise at once. His armor is dim. The golden cracks glow bright and angry now. His face looks older. Lines of strain cut deeper. Layla kneels by him. "Are you?" "I am here," he says, voice rough. "For now." Codex note. The ISU null pattern attacks the Emperor's warp link like a pariah field, forcing him to burn his own mind as a shield, to keep the breach from widening. Around the world, people in Animus pods wake screaming. Then they breathe. Their minds are their own. In London, Abstergo Tower goes dark. Emergency lights flicker on. Backup systems kick in. William's voice returns to Layla's ear, hoarse with strain. "What did you do?" he asks. "We cut the vault off the network," she says, looking at the smoking Animus shell. "He did, but it cost him." Can you still reach the vault? William asks. The Emperor lifts his head. Yes, he says. The path is narrower now, but it is there. Juno will not stop. She will push her null field through any crack she finds. We must go down and seal the cage. Layla nods. Then we go, she says. William hesitates. Wait, he says. Before you go deeper, we need to talk. In the warehouse later, the War Council gathers again. This time, the weight in the room is heavier. The Emperor leans on a crude metal table. He does not need the support in a human way, but he takes it anyway. It saves some of his light. Layla stands at his side. William faces them. Sophia sits in her chair, arms now free, but under guard. You burned yourself to protect people who aren't yours, William says. Yes, the Emperor says simply. You could have cut the lines, William says. Left them in the pods. Saved your Empire's beacon. No one here would have known. I would have known, the Emperor says. William studies him. This is where we differ, William says. To us, one free mind is worth more than any empire. To me, the Emperor replies, one empire of man is worth more than any single life. But that does not mean lives are numbers to erase. They are the bricks I build with. I choose very carefully which ones I crack. So you admit you build with lives, Sophia says with dark delight. So do you, he says. You just pretend you don't. Layla cuts in. We don't have time for this, she says. The vault's cut from the network for now, but Juno knows he exists. She'll try again. We need to know how to fight something that can hurt him. William nods slowly. Then we speak of limits, he says, looking at the Emperor. What you can do, what can break you. The Emperor is silent for a moment. In my empire, he says at last, I face demons, creatures made of pure warp, born from hate and fear. They cannot touch your world, not yet, but their rules are clear. Faith, will, and sacrifice are my tools. Here, the issue built a different tool. Their null pattern does not care about faith. It eats the medium itself. So it's like someone built a gun that shoots a bullet which erases your armor, Layla says. Not just pierces it, erases it. Yes, he says. If the bullet hits the right point, my link breaks. This shard dies. The path I opened stays open. The warp does not like open doors. Something worse than Juno may step through. Sophia smiles thinly. So if we crack you, we might doom the world, she says. Good to know. William glares at her. You crack him, you doom everyone, he says, including your Templars. She shrugs. Then we make sure we are not the ones who crack him, she says. We let your gods fight each other and stay out of the way. That is not an option, Layla snaps. If Juno gets loose in whatever sea he's talking about, she'll come back here with new tricks. We have to stop her now, while she's still half in a cage. William nods. Agreed, he says. He looks at the Emperor. Tell us what this null field can and cannot do, he says. Help us understand how to fight a god killer. The Emperor straightens. Very well, he says. Listen. Power scaling interlude. I begins not in a lecture, but in short, hard sentences spoken over a table scarred by knives. The null pattern the issue built is like a hole in thought, the Emperor says. It is not a weapon that hits flesh. It hits the medium that carries mind. For me, that medium is warp. For your vault, it is code. They learn to map my tide to their language. When the field expands, any warp thread inside it is cut and eaten. Inside that space, my will is weaker, slower, and every act costs me twice as much light. But the pattern is rigid. It cannot bend quickly. If we force it to spread over many targets at once, it thins. Layla nods slowly. So lots of small, messy moves, she says. Not one big show. Yes, he says. If I stand still and shine, it will carve me. If I move like a knife instead of a torch, I can slip between its teeth. William looks at the maps. Then we will not offer Juno a clear shot, he says. We go in with many small teams. We strike from angles. We keep you moving. Sophia shakes her head. You are planning a raid on a vault that has already shown it can think faster than you, she says. You are going to get yourselves killed. Better us than your board of directors, Layla mutters. Sophia laughs, but there is less strength in it now. You really believe in this, don't you? She asks the Emperor. Saving everyone, holding the line, even when they don't know you exist. He looks at her. Yes, he says. She shakes her head. You're a fool, she says. A powerful fool, but still a fool. Perhaps, he says, but I am your best chance to keep your pieces of Eden as toys and not as hooks for worse things. He looks at William and Layla. Begin your preparations, he says. The next move is below, and the Isu will not wait for us to feel ready. The night they choose to go below, London feels like a held breath. Fog lies low over the river. Lights from the bridges smear across the dark water. Police lines still ring Abstergo Tower, but the real work has moved underground, where no one on the street can see. In a forgotten tunnel near the river, the assassins have opened an old door. It leads down. The air past it is dry and stale, as if it hasn't been breathed in for a very long time. Layla checks her gear one more time. Hidden blades, compact pistol, small EMP charges that can fry cameras and sensors. Across from her, an older assassin named Jamal snaps a clip into his rifle. He is quiet, eyes tired but steady. Sophia Rickens stands with her arms crossed, no longer bound, but watched by two assassins. You really think bringing her is a good idea, Jamal mutters. She knows the vault, Layla says. We don't. I could also lead you into every trap, Sophia says calmly. Or just lie. Then you die first if things go wrong, Jamal says. Sophia smiles without humor. I assume that, she says. The Emperor stands at the mouth of the tunnel. Down there he can feel the Isu vault like a pressure in his teeth. It is awake. It remembers his touch. It hates and desires him at the same time. His golden armor is dimmer now. Fine cracks show lines of red heat that never quite fade. His eyes still burn, but the light inside them pulses, not steady as before. William's voice hisses in Layla's ear. Last checks, he says. One more time, so we are clear. What are we walking into? Tactical, Layla says, looking at the Emperor. He nods once. The Isu vault under your city is not just a tomb, he says. It is a node in a grid. Its goal is not simple storage. Its goal is to shape human thought. Every piece of Eden you have ever found is a finger from that hand. Every Animus session is a wire. Juno is the will riding those systems. And now she has seen a new kind of wire, William says. You. Yes, the Emperor says. She will try to do two things. First, use me to reach the warp, the Sea of Souls. Second, use your machines to spread her null pattern. If she succeeds, your world becomes a testing ground. My Imperium becomes a field for her code. There will be nowhere safe for a human mind. We're used to fighting people with money and guns, Jamal says. This is something else. Your hidden blades cannot stab code, Sophia says. Your rifles cannot shoot a field that erases thought. You are out of your depth. You are too, the Emperor says to her. Your Templars treat the Isu like gods or tools. They are neither. They are clever ghosts. You do not understand their hunger. So what does work? William asks. If knives and guns don't, what does? Two things. the Emperor says. First, I can still hurt them. My will can cut code if I shape it right. Second, they are rigid. They plan far. They do not react well to chaos. If we move in ways they did not expect, we thin their field. Layla nods. So we don't march in a straight line, she says. We move like assassins, split up, use side paths, hit weak spots, not the front door. Exactly, he says. Your creed fits this fight better than theirs. He looks at Sophia. Your Templar methods would fail here, he says. Marching in with squads and orders would give Juno a clear pattern to cut. Sophia's jaw tightens. We tried to be careful with the vault, she says. We built protocols. We made rules. We thought that was enough. You played with matches next to a fuel line, Layla says. Now it's lit. The Emperor steps into the tunnel. The others follow. Stone gives way to smooth white surfaces, long and straight. Issue design. The walls glow faintly with soft light. No clear source. Symbols drift across them, ghost writing in a language that looks like glass. Layla feels the hairs on her arms rise. I hate these places, she mutters. You can feel them? The Emperor asks. Yeah, like a hum in my skull, she says. Like being in the Animus, but awake. That is their code brushing your mind, he says. It wants hooks. Do not let it in. Sophia walks slightly ahead, showing the path. She moves with trained calm, but there is a tightness around her eyes. Main shaft is this way, she says. Go straight to the central chamber, which is why we're not using it. She points to a side passage, almost invisible unless you knew where to look. Maintenance branch, she says. We use it to run cables and drones. Less direct, less mapped. Less mapped? Jamal repeats. Fantastic. They move into the side passage. It slopes down slowly, like a throat. As they go, the air grows colder. The Emperor feels the null pattern waiting below. It is like sensing a vacuum, a place where nothing lives, not even pain. It is an insult to the warp, a wound that refuses to bleed. Halfway down, the lights flicker. Jamal raises his rifle. Layla's blades slip out. Sophia reaches for nothing, then remembers no one gave her a gun. Figures step from the walls. They are tall and thin, made of light and wire. Their faces are blank, featureless ovals. Their hands end in long, sharp fingers. Sentinels, Sophia says. Issue security constructs. We usually control them from the surface. These are not under your control now, the Emperor says. The sentinels move. They do not walk. They glide, feet not touching the floor, like puppets pulled by distant strings. Jamal fires. Bullets pass through one sentinel. The thing ripples, then reforms, almost unharmed. Layla darts in low and slashes with her blades. Her steel cuts something. Lines of light spill out like sparks. The sentinel shudders but stays intact. The Emperor raises his hand. Golden light lashes from his fingers. It hits the sentinel and tears it apart, scattering its body into a rain of broken symbols. The other sentinels turn toward him. They change. Their outlines warp. Their bodies widen, flatten like shields. The next lash of his power hits them and bends away. It leaves dark streaks in the air, as if it touched nothing. Null. Down, he snaps. He throws himself forward, not back. His shoulder slams into one sentinel. Though it is half insubstantial, his will gives his body weight enough. They hit the wall. The sentinel flickers, losing shape for a second. Jamal uses that second. He fires point blank into the loose swarm of symbols, not at the body's center, but at the edge, where the null field is thinner. This time, the bullets find purchase. The sentinel shreds. Layla throws an EMP charge at the others. It pops with a harsh white flash. The sentinels flicker again, momentarily confused by the noise and light in their code. The Emperor uses that moment to twist his power into a tight spear, not a wide lash. He rams it through the heart of the nearest Gnoll shield. The spear shrinks as it goes, eaten by the field. But not before it reaches the core, the spark of code that holds the thing together. The sentinel collapses. The last one retreats into the wall and vanishes. Layla breathes out. "So they can bend your power," she says. "Yes," he says. "You saw it. The more wide and bright I shine, the more they eat. Focused, quick moves slip through better. So we keep you from doing big show-off blasts," Jamal says. "Got it." She smirks despite the fear. He almost smiles back. They move on. The passage opens into a balcony over a huge chamber. Far below, a sphere of light hangs in the air. It is woven from lines of white and gold, intersecting like a cage. Inside, shadows move. The chamber walls are covered in glyphs and frozen holograms of old Isu figures. A platform in the center stretches out toward the sphere. On that platform stands a man. He wears a white suit with subtle Isu lines, a high collar, and a calm, bland face. Wire runs from the back of his skull into a console behind him. His eyes glow with shifting symbols. Sophia swears under her breath. "Elias," she whispers, "they really used you." Dr. Elias Ward, Abstergo's best interface specialist, the man who wrote half the safe protocols for Vault access, the man who always warned they were going too far. Now he stands there like a puppet. He looks up at the balcony. "Welcome," he says, his voice layered with a higher, cold tone. "You come at last, little god." The Emperor steps to the edge. "Juno," he says. Elias smiles, but the smile does not reach his eyes. "No," the layered voice says. "Not Juno alone. Juno riding a human pattern, refined by years of watching you through the crack you left." Lines of grey light spin into being around Elias. They twist into a halo of nothingness. Where they pass, the air seems to vanish. Layla feels her skin crawl. "That's the null field," she says. "Yes," the voice says. "We thank you for the sample. It was very instructive. Now see the improved model." The field expands. The Emperor feels it touch his aura. It is like cold teeth. He braces and pushes back with his will. Gold meets grey. The air between them bends. Stone dust lifts and hangs frozen, caught between pressure fronts. Jamal pulls Layla back from the edge. "Sniper's ledge," he mutters. "We can't help him from here." "You will not help him at all," Elias says. "You are irrelevant. Flesh scraps, data noise." Lines of code flicker around the platform, forming shapes. Figures appear. Ezio, Altaïr, Connor, Bayek, Cassandra. All the assassins Layla has ever walked as in memory. They stand there, weapons drawn, faces calm. Illusions, but detailed. Real enough to hurt if she lets them. "This is cruel," she says through clenched teeth. "This is efficient," the voice says. "The god fears for you. He will hold back if we aim at his pets." The Emperor steps off the balcony. He falls. Halfway down, he hits invisible steps of light that bloom under his boots, each one appearing just in time. He strides forward through empty air until he lands on the platform. He stands now a few meters from Elias. Up close, he can see the man's skin twitch under the Isu lines. He can see pain behind the glow in his eyes. The Emperor speaks not to the Isu voice, but to the man. "Elias Ward," he says, "you are still there." The body shudders. A flicker of clear human thought pushes through. "Help!" Elias gasps. The null field flares and smothers the rest. "Oh, he is kind," the layered voice says. "He wants to save the weak piece you left in my care. How noble." "Let him go," the Emperor says. Face me on your own. On my own, the voice laughs, a harsh, broken sound. Little shard, I have no body, no breath. This is how I exist. In code, in flesh I borrow. I will not give up a useful toy because your ethics itch. The null field lashes out like a whip. It hits the Emperor's chest. Pain explodes through him. His armor flares, then dims. Golden light peels away like strips of skin. Underneath, there is not meat, but something worse. A glimpse of black star-specked void. He staggers. On the balcony above, Layla gasps. She has never seen a wound like that. He forces himself not to fall. He shapes his will into a long, narrow blade of light and swings. The blade hits the edge of the null field. Most of it vanishes, but the last fraction slips through and cuts Elias's shoulder. Blood sprays. Elias cries out. The grey field shivers. The layered voice hisses. You hurt my host, it says. Interesting. Pain rises from his nerves. Data I can use. It sends the null field out again, this time as a sphere. It expands quickly. Everything it touches goes mute. Vault glyphs go dark. The illusions of assassins vanish. Even the faint hum in Layla's skull cuts out. The Emperor's light shrinks. He feels the field biting at his link. The path back to terror flickers. This is what Juno wants. Not just to cut him, but to map every point the null field touches, so she can build a full model of his connection. Then she can slice it once and hold the handle. In the middle of that pressure, the voice speaks again. You see now, it says. You stand on an old machine that can rewrite minds. Above us, humans lay in pods, dreaming past lives. Their bloodlines carry the key to every path they took. With your power, I can reach back farther. We could rewrite your history. Images flash around them. Terror before the heresy, the Primarchs at their peak. Horus laughing, not yet corrupted. You failed those sons, the voice says gently. You left them with too much freedom. They broke. They burned your dream. But here, in this time, with my code and your will, we can correct the error. We can tune humanity from the start, remove the parts that betray, shape trust into bone. More images. The Horus heresy, but different. Horus kneels and never stands again. Guilliman dies as a loyal shield. There is no war master, only servants. Think, the voice coos. No chaos armies tearing your empire. No need for a throne that eats souls. No golden cage. You can have an Imperium without pain, if you take my hand. A spectral hand made of light and code extends from Elias's chest. The Emperor's core moral wound throbs. He fears failure. He fears that his choices doomed his sons and his future. He has wondered, alone on the throne, if he should have been harder, more controlling, more like what this thing offers. You offer me a Templar dream, he says quietly. An empire where no one can choose wrong because they cannot choose at all. Choice is a bug, the voice says. You know this. You have said it, alone, in the dark. Humanity must endure whatever the cost. Let me help you pay less. On the balcony, Layla watches the Emperor's face. She cannot hear the echo in his mind, but she can feel the tension. She sees his hand twitch. Don't, she whispers, though he cannot hear her voice from here. Please don't. He remembers other offers, the Chaos Gods whispering that he could save Sun or Empire if he bent the knee. Primarchs asking for more freedom, more faith, more truth. He remembers saying no, and the wars that followed. He looks at the hand of code. If I take you, he says slowly, I rewrite the past. I build a new Imperium on a lie. I break every mind into a tool. There would be no Horus, no heresy, no rebellion. but also no trust, no choice, only me and my plan. Yes, the voice says with delight. At last, you see. He closes his fingers. He does not take the hand. No, he says. The vault shakes. The null field tightens like a fist. You refuse, the voice snarls. You choose failure again. I choose risk, he says. I choose to let humans be more than my bricks. I will not fix my pain by turning them into Templar puppets. The field crushes inward. His armor cracks further. The wound on his chest tears wider. Pain rips through his being. The link to the throne falters. For a moment, he feels it break. On Terra, the Astronomicon flickers. Ships in the warp stumble. Astropaths scream. He falls to one knee. Elias steps forward, calm as a sleepwalker. The null sphere shrinks, focusing down, aiming at the Emperor's core. On the balcony, Layla makes a choice. She jumps. She falls past drifting shards of stone and dead light. She lands hard on the lower platform, rolls, and comes up on her feet. A spectral Ezio moves to block her, but her blade passes through him. Illusion only. She charges Elias. The null field brushes her. It feels like cold mud. Her thoughts slow for a heartbeat. But she has no warp link. She has no psychic light. She is not the main target. She slams into Elias's side. Her shoulder hits the cables in his back. They rip free in a burst of sparks. Elias screams. The field spasms. For a second, the pressure on the Emperor's link lifts. He does not waste it. He gathers what light he has left and drives it not straight at Elias, but down into the platform. The stone and code there are full of conduits. They carry the null pattern from the core sphere to the host. By spearing the platform, he breaks some of those lines. The field flickers. The layered voice shrieks, "You dare!" It cuts off as the connection stutters. The null sphere collapses in on itself and vanishes with a soft pop, like a bubble bursting. Elias collapses. Layla catches him, barely. He is bleeding from his nose, eyes, and ears. His skin twitches with fading glyphs. The Emperor pushes himself to his feet. His chest, wound, still gapes. He feels wrong. Some of the null pattern clung to his link. Part of his light does not answer when he calls. "Is he?" Layla starts. A quiet voice cuts across the chamber. "He is alive," it says. "For now." A hologram flickers into being above the central sphere. A woman in smooth Isu armor stands there, hands folded. Her features are sharp but not cruel. Her eyes are calm. "Minerva," Sophia breathes. The Isu figure looks at the Emperor. "You are not from this time," she says, "and not from this thread. Your presence strains our calculations, but we planned for worse things than you. You left warnings for your own kind," the Emperor says. "For these humans. Messages in light. You did not plan for a warp-born soul to fall into your web." "True," she says, "but we planned for doors we did not open, for powers we did not fully map. Juno was one of those. You are another." The sphere of light behind her flares. "We saw many futures," Minerva says. "In most, Juno breaks her cage and remakes the world in her image. In some, she fails and humans rise free. In one thin branch, something like you appears and burns both." "Burns both?" Layla asks, voice shaky. "Burns Isu code and human minds together," Minerva says. "A god's tantrum in a nursery." She looks at the Emperor again. "Our models cannot fully see you," she says, "but they see your shadow. They show 3 paths where your choice matters. If you act alone, if you act under no law but your own, you will break too much. If you act as Juno's tool, you will break in a different way. There is a 3rd path, but it is narrow." "The path where I bleed under rules," he says. "Yes," she says. Even gods need chains. I am not a god, he says. That is what all gods say, she replies with a thin smile. The hologram flickers. Juno is not defeated, Minerva says. She retreats and she learns. The wound she gave you will grow if you feed it. Your link is stained. You must decide what you are allowed to do with it. She looks up, somewhere beyond the vault, toward a place these humans cannot see. To know the right weight of your hand, you must stand before your own throne, she says, or whatever you call the core of your power. The chamber lights dim. The hologram starts to fade. One last thing, she says. We built many failsafes. Juno learned to twist them. Our laws are dead. Yours are not. Make new ones, or you will be as bad as we were. She vanishes. Silence falls. Up to now, they have fought their way into the London vault, faced Juno's first true champion, refused her offer to rewrite history, and paid with a deep wound to the Emperor's very soul. They pull back. Jamal and Sophia drag Elias's limp body. Layla walks beside the Emperor, one hand hovering near his arm in case he stumbles. The path up seems longer than the way down did. When they reach the urine tunnel mouth again, the air outside tastes fresh in a way it never did before. In the warehouse, the medici bay is just a row of cots and an old monitor. Elias lies on one. An assassin doctor checks his pupils, his reflexes, his pulse. He's alive, she says, but his brainwaves are weird, like he's asleep and awake at once. I've never seen patterns like this. Sophia stands nearby, arms wrapped around herself. This is my fault, she says quietly. It is partly mine, the Emperor says. I opened a door. Juno used it to grab him harder. You didn't force us into the vault, she says. I signed the orders. I told myself we could control it, that we had enough rules, enough oversight. She gives a small, harsh laugh. Templar arrogance, she says. We always think we're the adults in the room. William watches from the doorway. His face is lined with worry. You refused her, he says to the Emperor. You could have fixed your own history. At the cost of everyone's freedom, the Emperor says. Yes, I refused. But she still wounded you, William says. How bad is it? The Emperor closes his eyes. For a second, his light rises. William, Layla, and Sophia all feel it, like standing near a huge engine. Then it dips. The null scar is deep, he says. Part of my link is gone. Where it should be, there is nothing. If I try to push power through that gap, it will tear wider. Juno's pattern will slip in. So you're weaker now, Layla says. Yes, he says, and more dangerous. If I lose control, the wound is a ready-made path for something else to ride. Sophia shivers. So what now? She asks. We can't go back down there until you're fixed. And I don't think a week of rest is going to do it. No, he says. He looks far away, as if through the walls, through the sky. The throne, he says softly. The core of my power. The seat where my true body sits, half alive. I must stand before it. I must let myself be judged. You, Layla says. Judged by? You. She frowns. That sounds strange. Shard and whole are not the same, he says. I feel what my greater self feels, but I do not think with all his thoughts. I made this shard with a mission and limits. Those limits are now broken. I must ask for new ones, or have this shard burned. William nods slowly. You need to go home, he says. Yes, the Emperor says. But I cannot leave the door here unguarded. If I pull my link back at once, Juno will slam through in the after image. I must go in a way that seals behind me. That will hurt. It may take more from me. Layla steps closer. Can we come? She asks. Not physically, I mean. In your mind. so we can see where you sit, so we know what you really fight. He hesitates. To let soft minds touch the warp is risky, he says. You are not made for that sea. We step into other lives all the time, she says. We've walked Rome, Egypt, Greece, the colonies. We've seen crusades. We've watched our ancestors die. Let us see your future. We deserve to know what we are fighting for. William adds his voice. Knowledge is our weapon, he says. If we are to stand with you or against you, we must know what you really means. Sophia snorts. And if we see that his Imperium is nothing but fire and screaming, what then? She asks. Do we still help? That will be your choice, he says. He looks at Layla again. You have walked many roads in other skins, he says. Perhaps your mind will bend and not break. He nods. Very well, he says. A small group. You, William, and one more if you choose. I will carry your minds along my link to the throne. My body will remain here guarded. If we die on that path, our flesh will follow. Jamal, who has been silent, speaks up. I'll stay, he says. Guard the bodies. Keep Sophia from doing anything stupid. Smart, Sophia said. Let the old man and the hacker go get their souls scorched. I will come, says another voice from the back. It is the assassin doctor. I have seen brains all my life, she says. I want to see the biggest one there is. William chuckles softly despite the tension. 3 is enough, he says. More minds, more risk. They lay down on 3 cots. The Emperor stands at the head of each. He places his hands lightly on Layla's brow, on William's, on the doctor's. Close your eyes, he says. When you open them, do not fight what you see. But remember, it is still sight, not command. They close their eyes. He opens the link. The warehouse falls away. They are moving, not through space, through meaning. It feels like being in the Animus, but naked. No ancestor, no filter. Layla feels her own life peeled back in layers. Childhood in Cairo. First stolen Animus. First kill. William feels every decision he made for the Brotherhood. Every life lost on his orders. The doctor feels every patient she could not save. Then those threads twist around a larger one. The Emperor's life. 1,000 battlefields. Alien skies. Sons built in labs and grown into giants. Trust given, broken, rebuilt. Then fire. Horus's rebellion. The siege of terror. The moment a dying war master lies at his feet, and he must choose to kill his son or let the galaxy burn. He kills him. The pain of that choice is a weight that never leaves. Layla cries out. Her voice echoes in a place with no air. You're sitting on that, she whispers. Yes, he says, and more. The images shift. They see the golden throne. It is a vast machine of gold and bone, fused into the rock of a mountain-sized hall. Miles of cable run from it like roots. Rivers of light pour into it from tubes carrying screaming souls. On the throne sits the Emperor's true body. It is a corpse that refuses to rot. Skin stretched thin, eyes closed, mouth barely open, yet light burns behind the lids. Golden armored warriors stand around the base of the throne. Custodian guard. The Emperor's bodyguards. They do not move, but every sense is sharp. Women in black armor and hoods walk among them. Sisters of silence. Their minds are blank holes in the warp. They drink psychic noise like sponges. Layla, William, and the doctor stand at the edge of the hall in ghost forms. They are tiny. The Emperor's shard walks with them, his golden armor a dim echo of the giant behind him. He feels small too. He approaches the steps. The custodians do not stop him. They feel his pattern. They recognize their master, even in this fragment. The Sisters of Silence draw closer. Their dead auras eat at his light. It hurts, but in a cleaner way than Juno's null. This is a silence built by faith and duty, not by code. He kneels at the foot of the throne. Layla and the others feel it, a heavy, crushing pressure. It is not hatred. It is not love. It is the weight of every human alive. The throne mind speaks without words. You opened a door. Yes, the shard answers. You grew curious. Yes. You risked much. Yes. You refused the easy path of control through the Isu's code. Yes. You were wounded. Yes. You come for judgment. Yes. Images flash through their shared mind. Juno's cold smile. Elias screaming. The null scar in the shard's chest. Layla leaping. The throne mind weighs them. Layla, William, and the doctor feel that gaze turn toward them too. It sees their small lives as clearly as any Primarch's. You brought them, the throne mind says. Yes, the shard says. They asked to see. They deserve to know what they fight beside. Trust. A simple word, but heavy. He remembers the heresy. He remembers trusting sons who failed. Now he trusts strangers. The throne mind pushes. Layla almost breaks. She feels her sense of self stretch thin. The warp around her presses close, curious. But the shard stands between her and it, taking most of the weight. She breathes. The throne mind shows 3 visions. In one, the shard returns and takes Juno's hand. He sees himself use the Animus and the pieces of Eden to reach back and fix his own past. In that path, there is peace. There is also a dead, quiet galaxy where no one laughs without permission. In another, the shard breaks all chains. He acts as he wishes, with no law but his own. He burns the issue out. He burns the Templars and the Assassins. He plugs the breach with fire. In that path, the warp roars. Demons ride the chaos he makes. His Imperium wavers. In the third, he bends. He accepts limits set not just by his own fear or pride, but by a code that balances survival and mercy. He shares his power in small, careful doses with chosen agents. He binds himself to rules that hurt to follow. He saves less, but he damns fewer. The throne mind offers no direct command. It is not a tyrant here. It is a mirror. What do you choose? It asks. The shard remembers Minerva's words. Even gods need chains. He speaks slowly. I choose to serve humanity, not to own it, he says. I choose to keep my hand from every lever. I will be a shield, not a net. The pressure eases for a moment. Then it returns in a different shape. New lines of force wrap around his mind. Not chains of code, chains of oath. You will not rewrite the past with Isu tools, the throne mind says. I will not, the shard agrees. You will not burn this world to protect your own. I will not. You will share your light with chosen humans, but you will not ride their wills. I will not. You will accept that some will die because you did not crush their freedom. I will. These are your bounds, the throne mind says. Do you accept this mandate? I accept, he says. A surge of power runs down the link. It burns out some of the null scar. Not all. The wound remains, but now it is framed by new structure. The Sisters of Silence step closer. Their blank fields drink some of the leftover null. It hisses as it dies. The shard feels clearer, smaller, but cleaner. He turns to Layla, William, and the doctor. You have seen, he says. Now you must choose if you still stand with me. Layla looks up at the great corpse on the throne, at the custodians, at the endless machine. This is what you built, she says softly. A fortress made of people and pain. Yes, he says. I hate parts of it, she says. But I also see what you fight, those things in the dark. If you fall, everything falls. She meets his eyes. I'll stand, she says. As long as you keep those chains. As long as you don't become Juno with better armor. William nods. We have fought kings, popes, CEOs, he says. We've never fought something like you. I don't know if we could. So we do what we always do with power we can't kill. We watch it. We push it. We make sure it remembers why it exists. He gives a thin smile. Consider the assassins another chain, he says. The doctor just shakes her head, eyes wide. I'm going to have nightmares forever, she says. But I'm in. Someone has to keep notes on this. The throne mind withdraws. The hall fades. They are falling back along the link. Before the vision ends, the shard hears one last echo. Seal the door, the throne mind says, and do not come back this way unless you must. Then the warehouse returns. They jerk awake on their cots. Jamal lets out a breath. He did not know he was holding. You stop breathing for a while, he says, all three of you. Layla sits up slowly. Her eyes shine with tears she does not remember forming. Worse than the Animus, he asks. Different, she says. Bigger. The Emperor stands. His armor still bears the crack in his chest, but the edges are smoother now, marked with faint new sigils. He has changed. His light feels tighter, more controlled. He speaks, and his voice carries a new weight. I have my mandate, he says. I know what I can and cannot do here. Power scaling interlude series comes as he lays out the new rules of his own existence in this stolen time. My raw strength is less, he says. The null scar took a piece of my link. I cannot blanket a city with my will without risking a tear. I can no longer summon solid echoes of my space marines. At best, I can call brief images to frighten or guide. I can, however, share slivers of my light with chosen humans. When I do, they gain speed, clarity, and a shield against Isu code. But each blessing costs me, and if I push it too often, the chains the throne laid on me will tighten. If I try to break my new bounds, the link will burn this shard out, rather than let me fall to Juno. Layla nods. So no more citywide shields, she says. No easy saves. No, he says. We win this the hard way, with knives in the dark, with choices. And with us, William says. You're not alone at the table anymore. The Emperor looks at the tunnel door that leads back down into the earth. The next move, he says, is still below. Juno is not done, but now neither are we. In the depths, the vault stirs again, and somewhere between machine and sea, Juno feels the new chains on the god she thought to own, and begins to plan a different kind of trap. They do not sleep long. The warehouse is quiet, but not calm. London hums outside. Somewhere under the river, the vault still thinks. Layla leans against a table, hands wrapped around a mug of bad coffee. It has gone cold. She has not noticed. The Emperor stands near the far wall, looking at a map of the world. Red dots mark other vaults, pieces of Eden, Abstergo sites, old ruins. His eyes flick from one to the other. Minerva said Juno retreats, not falls, William says. What does retreat look like for something that lives in machines? The Emperor nods at the map. Like this, he says. Quiet nodes waking, old code stirring. Your Templar systems feel glitches. Your assassin backdoors see strange patterns. She is probing every route that touches the London vault's shape. Sophia steps out of the medbay. Her face is drawn. Elias is stable, she says. Whatever pushed through him is gone. What's left is messy, but human. Good, Layla says. Sophia joins them at the table. Abstergo mainframe logs came through my private channel, she says. Your hit knocked the London vault off the grid, but the global network is still there. Juno is trying to use the failsafes I wrote as new doors. She shakes her head. I thought I was building locks, she says. Turns out I built keys. The Emperor turns from the map. Juno learns from each cut, he says. She tasted my link. She tasted your code. She will not try the same attack twice. The next strike will be larger, slower. It will try to change the rules of your world. Layla sets down her mug. Can we see what she's planning? She asks. Like, from above? The Emperor nods slowly. In the Hall of the Throne, I was shown 3 paths, he says. They were not just for me. They shape what happens to your world too. William raises an eyebrow. You said something about choices, he says. Spell them out, plain words. The Emperor looks at each of them in turn. In the first path, he says, I return. I pull this shard back along the link and close the breach with fire. I vanish from your time. Juno loses her direct path to the warp, but she keeps your machines. She keeps your pieces of Eden. She will still try to rule you, but without my light making her hungrier. He points at the map. In that path, your fight stays yours, he says. You may win. You may lose. My Imperium is spared new danger from this age, but the scar in my link remains, and the warnings your Isu left are not changed by my hand. Layla swallows. So you leave us, she says. We deal with Juno alone. Yes, he says. In the second path, he continues, I become a free agent. I refuse all chains. I widen the breach. I use the warp and my will to burn out every vault in your world. I can do it. One great scream of light. Every piece of Eden turns to dust. Every animus melts. He closes his eyes. In that path, Juno dies, he says. So do many minds caught between. Your world staggers. Your creed dies with the Templars. My own Imperium feels the shock. Chaos pours in through the noise. Both ages suffer. Sophia's face goes pale. Effective, she says, but monstrous. Yes, he says. In the third path, he says, I accept the chains you saw in the throne hall. I become a sanctioned servant. I stay linked but bound. I may act here but under rules that protect both your freedom and my Imperium. I cannot rewrite the past. I cannot burn your world to save mine. I fight Juno with you, not over you. He opens his hands. In that path, he says, all of us bleed. Juno may still escape pieces of herself, but humanity in both ages keeps more choice. William taps the table with a finger. And the cost? He asks. There's always a cost. The cost, the Emperor says, is that I will always be tempted to break my own rules when things go bad. And if I do, the throne will burn this shard rather than let it fall. I will lose myself here, and the breach may swing wide in my death. Layla thinks of the throne, of the chains of oath, of the sisters drinking noise. She looks at him. Which path do you want? She asks. He is silent for a moment. Part of me wants to return, he says, to pull back, to shore up my Imperium, to let you walk your own narrow road without my weight. Part of you wants to burn it all, Sophia says quietly. Yes, he admits. Part of me is tired of ghosts and machines and secret wars. A clean fire is simple. And the part that walked us to your throne? William asks. That part, he says, leaned toward chains, toward staying, toward serving under rules I did not write alone. He looks down at his cracked armor. But I cannot choose in a quiet room, he says. The test is given in battle. Juno will force the choice. She will build something that can only be stopped one of those 3 ways. As if on cue, Jamal strides in, tablet in hand. You were right, he says. Something's happening. He throws the feed up on the wall screen. It shows a world map. Icons flash in waves, vaults. Pieces of Eden hidden under museums, churches, and deserts. Animus pods in corporate labs and private homes. Signals spike from each one in a slow, climbing pattern. Abstergo just sent a global recall ping, Sophia says, reading the data. It's not from any of my teams. It's forged. It's calling every linked device to sync with London's base pattern. The pattern Juno touched, Layla says. Yes, the Emperor says. He feels it now, a slow tide. If it peaks, the null field will not be a small bubble. It will be a network laid over the whole planet. Timeline, William asks. Sophia does fast math. 15 minutes to reach stable lock, she says. Maybe less, Jamal swears. We can't reach the vault in 15 minutes, he says. Not on foot. The Emperor steps forward. I can, he says. But I cannot drag you all in body. My light is not wide enough without risk. Layla looks at him. Then take us in mind, she says. Like you did to the throne. Carry us into the vault's interface. We fight Juno inside her own code while you hold the walls. Sophia shakes her head sharply. That's suicide, she says. Your brains aren't built for that space. Neither are yours, Layla says. But you still went. Because I thought I had control, Sophia snaps. And I was wrong. You're about to step into a fight between a golden god and a software demon. You'll be collateral. Maybe, Layla says. Maybe not. Animus users walk Isu memory all the time. We know how to stay ourselves in someone else's shape. Maybe that helps. William puts a hand on the table. We don't have another option, he says. If that network locks, Juno gets her field across the planet. Return or burn won't fix that cleanly. We need sanction. We need to write new rules into the system while it's soft. He looks at the Emperor. Can you do that? He asks. Change the law inside the vault instead of smashing it? The Emperor thinks of Minerva's last words. Our laws are dead. Yours are not. Make new ones. Yes, he says. If I share my light with you, you can carry it into the code. Not as my puppets, as my hands. Together, we can write a new pattern that Juno cannot cross without breaking herself. And if we fail, Sophia asks, then, he says, I must choose between return and burn. There will be no time left. Silence. Layla steps forward. Then let's not fail, she says. William nods. Best pep talk we're going to get, he says. Jamal checks his rifle and then sets it aside. Guess this one isn't about bullets, he says. You can still guard our bodies, Layla says. If Templars come crashing in while we're gone, we're dead anyway. Sophia hesitates. You're trusting me more than you should, she says. We're watching you, William says. It's not the same as trust, but it's a start. They move. The Emperor leads them back to the tunnel. This time he does not walk. He lifts one hand. A narrow beam of gold extends from his palm, a straight line pointing into the earth. Follow close, he says. I will not shield the whole city. I will only pierce one path. He steps onto the beam. He and his small group sink through stone as if it were water. The world becomes layers: concrete, steel, old brick, older stone. Then the smooth white of Isu walls. They slide through, untouched. In heartbeats, they stand again on the balcony above the central chamber. The sphere of light is dimmer, but more dense. It no longer hangs free. Thick cables of code tie it to ghost images of other vaults around the world. The network recall has begun. Glyphs spin faster across the walls. Juno's voice rolls out not from one point, but from everywhere. You return, she says. Good. I wanted you here when my dawn rises. The Emperor feels the tide building. He raises his hands. Lay down, he tells Layla, William, Sophia, Jamal, and the doctor. Close your eyes. This will be rough. They obey. He kneels in the center of the balcony and sets his palms on the floor. He opens his light, not wide, not bright enough to fill the chamber, just enough to make 5 thin threads. They run from his hands into the sleeping minds beside him. Layla feels warmth on her brow. Then she is falling again, not into someone else's past this time, into the code of the vault itself. She lands on a surface made of light. It looks like old stone, but it glows softly. William stands beside her, Sophia too, the doctor, Jamal. All wear their own faces and clothes. Above them hangs the sphere, now a sky of lines. Isu glyphs drift around like stars. A shape coalesces in front of them. It is Juno, not borrowing Elias's body now, her true avatar, tall, armored, beautiful in a cold way. Her eyes are twin pits of code. "You bring guests," she says, amused. "How quaint." Layla sees something else. Behind Juno, 3 faint doors. One is bright gold and stretches backward, away from this place. One is a red wound that leads into fire. One is a narrow white archway that bends and twists. "Those are his paths," William mutters. Juno smiles. "You think I do not know his tests?" she asks. "I see the weight of his choices in every ripple of his link. The throne thinks it can bind him. How small-minded. I offer more." She spreads her hands. "The return door," she says, nodding at the gold path. "Closes me off from his sea, yes, but it leaves me with this world's toys. I will not rule tomorrow, perhaps not in a century, but time is my element. I will sift your bloodlines and build again." She nods at the wound. "The burned door ends me here," she says, "but the scream will wake other things. His Imperium will suffer. Chaos will laugh. His people will curse his name. He will become the very monster he fights." She looks at the white arch. "And so there is the narrow one," she says. "The one where he bends, where he swears not to hurt you more than some number you all agree on, where he lets you live in a cage shaped like freedom." She laughs softly. "Chains are chains, little assassins," she says, "whether gold or iron." Layla steps forward. "You talk like you care about freedom," she says. "You're a program built to control." "Control is honest," Juno says. "Your so-called freedom is a story you tell so you feel better about your cages. Look at your world now. Phones that track every move, feeds that shape every thought. You built my tools for me. The Templars and the Assassins just argue about who holds the steering wheel." William's jaw clenches. "We fight to keep that wheel out of hands like yours," he says. "You fight to choose your own tyrants," Juno says. "At least I am efficient." The sphere overhead pulses. The recall nears its peak. The Emperor's voice echoes in their shared space. "I hear you," he says. "I see the doors. I feel the weight." His golden form appears beside them, dimmer than Juno but more solid. He looks at the 3 paths. "Return," he says, nodding at the gold door. "Burn." He nods at the wound. "Servant." He nods at the white arch. Juno smiles wide. "Pick any," she says. "I win either way." Layla looks at him. "What does your creed say?" she asks. "Not the Imperium. You." He thinks. Humanity must endure. He has said it for ages. But now, after the throne, there is more. "Humanity must endure," he says slowly, "and have the right to be more than my soldiers." He looks at the burn wound. "If I burn, they live in fear and ash," he says. "That is not endurance. That is just a longer death." He looks at return. "If I leave, I save my Imperium," he says. "But I abandon these people to a fight I made worse. I open the door. Walking away would be cowardice." He looks at the white arch. "It hurts to bend," he says. "But sometimes You have to kneel so others can stand. Juno sneers. You would chain yourself for the sake of a few short-lived animals, she says. You are sick with sentiment. Maybe, he says, or maybe I have learned. He turns to Layla, William, Sophia, Jamal, and the doctor. I cannot choose servant without you, he says. The chains are not just mine. They bind you too. They will mark your world, your Templars, your assassins, your vaults. William nods. Lay it out, he says. What does sanctioned servant really mean? Not poetry, terms. The Emperor raises his hand. The white arch grows clearer. He speaks, and each word adds a line to its frame. I may not rewrite your past using issue tools, he says. No changing assassinations. No erasing tyrants before their time. History stays as it was lived. A line of light locks across part of the arch. I may not use my power to force your minds, he says. I can shield, I can warn, I can bless. I cannot possess. No turning a city into puppets, even to save it. Another line. I may not unleash force that will kill more than it saves in this moment, he says. No cleansing fires that leave wastelands where culture stood. Another. I may share slivers of my light with chosen humans, he says. Assassin or Templar or neither. When I do, they see more clearly, move faster, resist issue code. But I cannot own them. They choose how to act. Another. In return, he says, you accept that I exist. You accept that my Imperium must live far ahead of you. You do not try to use your machines to undo it. Your wars stay in your age. The arch glows brighter. These are the base terms, he says. I will write them into the vault as law if we all agree. If any of us tries to break them, the law will bite. Layla looks at William. He nods slowly. It is still scary, William says, but it is better than trusting Juno, and better than letting you leave a mess. He gives a small smile. The assassins will not worship you, he says, but we will work with you, under protest. Sophia crosses her arms. And the Templars, she says. You are rewriting our world without our vote. You built the mess, Jamal snaps. She ignores him, eyes on the Emperor. You want us to accept a third power, she says. Not just order and freedom, but protection. That will split the board. Some will want to fight you, some will want to serve you. Civil war. The Emperor nods. Yes, he says. It will hurt. But your order is already cracking. Better it breaks now on this choice than later under Juno's weight. Sophia takes a breath. When I was young, she says, I joined the Templars because I saw chaos ruin lives. I believed we needed strong hands on the wheel. I still do. But after the vault, I know what happens when hands like mine pretend they control gods. She looks at the white arch. I vote yes, she says, reluctantly. I will go back to the inner circle and argue that living under your shadow is better than living under Juno's. The doctor shrugs. I'm just a medic, she says. But as someone who hates losing patients, I prefer the path where fewer die. So I'm in. Jamal nods too. If this keeps my little sister's brain off some issue altar, I'm good, he says. They all look at Layla. Her throat is tight. I joined the Brotherhood because I wanted people to have their own choices, she says. Even stupid ones. Especially stupid ones. If we sign this, we accept that some choices are now blocked. No one gets to pull issue strings on the past. No one gets to wipe minds for fun. That's a kind of freedom too. She looks at the Emperor. But if you break this, she says, if you start thinking you know better than us again, we'll fight you, even if we lose. He smiles faintly. Good, he says. I need someone to push back. She nods. I say yes, she says. The white arch flares. Juno's eyes narrow. "Fools," she spits. "You sign away the one tool that could truly fix your broken lines. You lock out perfection because you fear cost." "We've seen your idea of perfection," William says. "I'll take flawed and free." The Emperor steps toward the arch. "I choose the servant path," he says. He reaches out. His hand touches the light. Chains of oath slam into place around his being. He feels them tighten. The throne's echo roars approval down the link. The arch shatters into a rain of lines. They sink into the sphere, into the walls, into the code that binds the vault network. New laws write themselves in Isu script, powered by warp light. Pieces of Eden around the world flicker. Some lose their sharp edge. Some shut down rather than obey. Animus pods everywhere show a brief white flash and then reboot with new safety rails the creators never planned. Juno screams, "You dare overwrite my maker's work," she shrieks. "You scribble your crude dicta over our perfect design." The Emperor turns to her. "Yes," he says, "we do." She gathers herself. Even with the new law, she is still strong here. "You have chained yourself," she hisses. "You cannot burn me now without breaking your own code." She is right. He cannot unleash a full warp storm here. The chains would rip this shard apart first. But he does not need to. He is not alone. He reaches out. Slivers of his light peel off his form and sink into Layla, William, Sophia, Jamal, and the Doctor. They gasp. The world sharpens. They see code lines as clear as wires. They sense weak spots in Juno's pattern, like knots in a rope. "Your blessing," he says. "Use it." Layla darts forward. She's not faster in body. This is not a dream of speed. Her thoughts are more precise. She sees the old Isu warning routines Minerva left in the vault. Dead code. Dormant. She grabs them. She twists them like knives and drives them at Juno's feet. They stick. William sees logic structures built to shut down rogue subroutines. He repurposes them, turns them into cages, throws them over Juno's extended arms. Sophia knows every failsafe Abstergo ever wrote. She flips them. Instead of protecting the vault from anomalies, she now tells them the anomaly is Juno herself. They swarm her like antibodies. Jamal and the Doctor act too, not as coders, but as eyes. "Left flank," Jamal shouts. She's pushing through a side backup. "Top right," the Doctor cries. "That cluster is a decoy." They call out weak points. The others hit them. Juno fights back. She lashes out with fragments of null. The Emperor steps between those lashes and his new allies. He takes the bites. Each one deepens his scar a little. His light dims further. But he holds. The new law in the vault snaps at null fields now. Every time Juno pushes one beyond a certain size, the law chops it off, burning a piece of her pattern to enforce the rule. She shrieks in rage. "You turn my own systems against me," she snarls. "Ungrateful apes." "You build the gun," Layla says. "We just found the right target." The sphere overhead trembles. The ties to other vaults thin. One by one, their links drop. The global recall fails. Around the world, Animus users wake strangely refreshed. Pieces of Eden stop humming under glass cases. Juno feels her grip on the network slip. She gathers herself for one last push. Not at the vault, at the Emperor. She lunges along his link. Not to Terra. The chains block that path. To the shard itself. "If I cannot have your sea," she screams, "I will live in you." She hits the null scar in his chest. Pain explodes. He stumbles. For a heartbeat, Layla sees Juno's cold eyes in his face. No, the throne's echo booms through the link. The chains tighten. They bite into the scar. Juno's pattern hits them and shatters. Half of her code burns away in a flash of pure warp light. The rest flees into a deeper layer of the vault, into some forgotten backup, into the dark between systems. She is not gone, but she is small, wounded. The sphere stabilizes. The vault hums at a lower, safer pitch. The light under their feet brightens. Layla feels the Emperor's blessing slowly withdraw. Her senses blur back to normal. Her knees almost buckle. It is over, for now. They stand in the code space, breathing hard though there is no real air. The Emperor looks down at his chest. The scar is still there, but its edges are now marked with both Isu glyphs and Imperial sigils, gold and white. "I have my chains," he says quietly, and so does she. The code space fades. They wake on the balcony. Their real bodies ache. Sweat soaks their clothes. Jamal sits up, clutching his chest. "Remind me never to do that again," he groans. The Emperor pushes himself to his feet. He is unsteady. Layla stands beside him, ready to catch him if he falls. "You chose servant," she says. "Yes," he says. "You could still go," Sophia says softly. "Take the return door now that the recall failed." "I could," he says, "but the chains I accepted bind me here for a while. There is still work. Elias to heal, Templars to face, assassins to guide and argue with." William smiles thinly. "Welcome to our mess," he says. The Emperor looks at the central sphere. It now carries a faint new sigil. A two-headed eagle curled around the assassin's insignia and a simple straight cross, all framed by an Isu eye. The old symbols forced to share space. "Not worship," he says, "but a warning. A mark that says, 'Here lie rules not of Isu making.'" They leave the vault. This time, the path feels less like a threat and more like a narrow, honest corridor. When they reach the tunnel mouth, dawn has broken over London. Fog burns off the river. The city wakes, unaware of how close it came to becoming a testbed for a jealous ghost. Days pass. Stories start to spread. Animus users report strange dreams of a golden hall. Pieces of Eden go dark in Templar vaults with no clear cause. Abstergo's London Tower quietly cuts back on its high-risk projects. In a hidden assassin archive, William writes, his entry is blunt. "The Golden Interloper," he titles it. A shard of a future tyrant who came to our age and left chains on himself and our enemies. Not a god, not a savior, a dangerous ally under watch. He writes new rules. No use of Isu tech that violates the sanctioned law. Any contact with the Emperor's light must be reported and debated. The Brotherhood will not become his cult. Sophia stands before the Templar Inner Council. Old men and women sit in a dark boardroom, screens glowing behind them. She explains. Some call her mad. Some call her traitor. Some listen with narrowed eyes. "We have been children with matches," she says. "We almost burned the house down. An older, harsher neighbor stepped in and took the matches from us. I dislike him. I also dislike fire." Her final proposal is simple. Abstergo will comply with the new law as long as it protects human minds from Juno and other Isu ghosts. But the Templars will not kneel. They will adapt. They will seek other ways to guide humanity within the chains. A war of words begins in that room that will last years. Some whisper of open war with the assassins and the Golden Patron. Some whisper of secret alliances. In a small flat in London, a teenager scrolls through their phone. For a second, every app freezes. The screen flashes white. A strange symbol appears. An eagle, a hood, a cross, an eye. Then it vanishes. The phone reboots. The teenager blinks. "Glitch," they mutter, and go back to their feed. But something small sticks in their mind. A feeling that someone, somewhere, is watching over the noise. Far ahead, in the far future, The Astronomicon burns. Navigators on starships feel a subtle new note in its song. A captain of the Ultramarines looks up at the star map and frowns. The light, he says, feels different. In the halls of terror, a custodian guard salutes the throne. He thinks, just for a moment, that he hears a faint laugh in the golden hum. Not cruel, not happy, something like tired relief. In the black library of the Harlequins, a laughing god-servant flips through pages of possible histories. He pauses on one. A shard of the Emperor walks an older terror and comes back with new scars and new chains. The Harlequin tilts his head. Interesting, he says. The Monkey god learns. That will make the long game more fun. Deep in the earth of old London, the vault sleeps. Juno is not gone. Her core code sits in a hardened node, bound by new law. She tests the walls. Each push burns a little more of her. She pulls back, she thinks. I will not be a prisoner forever, she whispers into the quiet systems. There are always loopholes. There are always soft minds. She remembers Layla's face, William's stubborn glare, the Emperor's scar. I will wait, she says. And when the chains chafe him enough, when the humans argue enough, one of them will come to me for help. She smiles to herself. Humans cannot resist rewriting their own stories, she says. On the surface, Layla stands on a rooftop. The city sprawls around her. She breathes the cold air. The Emperor stands beside her, watching the horizon. So, she says, what now? Now I teach some of your people how to carry my blessing without breaking, he says. Now I sit in your shadows and make sure your vaults obey the new law. Now I argue with your mentor and your Templar scientist about what acceptable cost means. She smiles. And one day, she asks. One day, he says, I will return. The chains do not hold me here forever. I will go back to my throne. I will take what I learned and try to make my Imperium a little less blind. Think it will listen? She asks. He looks at the rising sun. Maybe not, he says. But even a god king can change himself. That is a start. She nods. And us? She asks. What should we do with all this? Remember, he says. Remember that you saw the future of your species, both its glory and its horror. Fight so that, if you ever reach it, you do so with eyes open. He steps back. Golden light gathers around him. You're leaving now? She asks, surprised. Not fully, he says, but the link must rest. You have my chains. I have yours. That is enough for now. He raises his hand. Layla Hassan, he says. Assassin, rebel, teacher. In the name of the Emperor of mankind, I name you Aegis of all terror. She blinks. That sounds heavy, she says. It means you stand at a hinge of history, he says. Protect it well. The light swallows him. When it fades, he is gone. Only a faint warmth lingers where he stood. Layla looks out over London. She pulls up her hood. She jumps to the next rooftop, moving like a shadow in the brightening day. In the void between ages, a shard of the Emperor slides back along a scarred link. He feels the throne's pull. He feels the chains bite. He also feels something new. A small, stubborn hope. Not that the galaxy will be kind, but that, even in a universe of war and ghosts, choices still matter. Codex note. By the Golden Edict of Restraint, the Master of Mankind decrees that all intervention in pre-imperial terror must preserve both humanity's survival and its right to choose, with warp and issue code bound under law rather than whim.